You thought awakening would bring peace. Instead, you're in agony. Your relationships are falling apart. You're losing everything you built. You feel more pain now than before you started this journey. You're crying more, hurting more, feeling more alone than ever. And the worst part? Everyone said awakening would set you free, but you feel like you're dying. Carl Jung made a discovery that spiritual teachers won't tell you. Awakening isn't supposed to feel good. The pain isn't a sign you're doing it wrong. It's proof you're doing it right. But the reason why will shock you, because Jung discovered that what you think is awakening pain is actually something else entirely, something most people never understand. And once you know what's really happening, the pain transforms into something useful. Today I'm revealing Jung's answer to why spiritual awakening feels like psychological torture, not the comfortable answer, the real one. And it will change everything about how you understand this journey. Here's what Jung understood that changes everything. Awakening doesn't hurt because you're growing. It hurts because you're dying. Not metaphorically, psychologically. The self you've been your entire life is dissolving. Your identity is disintegrating. Your worldview is collapsing. And your psyche experiences this exactly the same way your body would experience physical death, with terror, pain, and desperate resistance. Jung called this ego death, but that phrase has become so overused it's lost its impact. What's actually happening is more like murder. Your psyche is murdering the version of you that's been running your life. And that version doesn't want to die. It's fighting for survival with everything it has. The pain you're feeling isn't growth pain. It's death throes. Most spiritual teaching frames awakening as beautiful, peaceful, transcendent. But Jung witnessed the reality through hundreds of patients. Awakening is brutal. It's supposed to be. Because what you're awakening from isn't just sleep. It's a complete psychological structure you've spent decades building. And that structure has to be demolished before anything new can emerge. The first reason why this is so painful will explain everything. Awakening hurts because you're not just changing your beliefs. You're losing your identity. The you you've always known is dissolving. And your psyche experiences identity loss, the same way your body experiences blood loss, as a life-threatening emergency. Think about who you've been, your personality, your values, your goals, your self-concept. I'm a good person. I'm successful. I'm spiritual. I'm a victim. I'm strong. These aren't just ideas. They're the psychological infrastructure of your existence. They're how you've navigated reality for decades. But awakening reveals that this identity is constructed, not real, a character you've been playing. And the moment you see this clearly, the character starts to die. Not because you want it to, because it can't survive being seen as false. One of Jung's patients described this. I woke up one day and didn't recognize myself. Not in a poetic way, in a terrifying way. I looked in the mirror and thought, who is this person? What have I been doing? None of this is real. Everything I thought I was just wasn't. And I felt like I was disappearing. The pain was like watching myself die while being forced to stay alive. This is what Jung called identity dissolution, and your psyche responds to it with panic. Because identity isn't optional, it's how your consciousness organizes itself. Lose your identity, and your psyche literally doesn't know how to function. It's like the operating system on your computer suddenly deleting itself while the computer is still running. You'll notice you can't answer basic questions anymore. What do you want? I don't know. What do you believe? I don't know. Who are you? I don't know. This isn't confusion. It's the absence of the structure that used to provide those answers. That absence is terrifying, and the terror manifests as pain. But identity loss is just the first layer. The second reason awakening hurts goes even deeper. Awakening hurts because it forces you to feel everything you've avoided feeling your entire life, not gradually, all at once. Decades of repressed grief, fear, anger, shame, pain, suddenly demanding to be felt. And your nervous system isn't designed to process that volume of emotion. Before awakening, you had defense mechanisms protecting you from your unfelt emotions. Denial, rationalization, distraction, numbing. You kept the pain buried. But awakening dissolves those defenses. Consciousness expands, and suddenly you're feeling everything that's been stored in your body and psyche for years. One of Jung's patients, a successful lawyer, described this flooding. "I'd spent 30 years being fine. Then I awakened and realized I wasn't fine. I was numb. And as the numbness lifted, I felt everything I'd been avoiding. Grief from my father's death 20 years ago, rage at my mother, terror from childhood trauma, shame about my choices, all of it hitting me at once. I couldn't function. I couldn't work. I just cried and shook for months. I thought I was having a breakdown." Jung told him, "You're not breaking down. You're breaking through. This is what's been inside you all along. Awakening didn't create the pain. It revealed it. And now it must be felt." This is what Jung called the return of the repressed. Everything you pushed down to survive is now pushing up to be integrated, and there's no stopping it. You can't renumb yourself. You can't go back to unconsciousness. The dam has broken and the flood is here. You'll notice you cry for no apparent reason. You feel rage that seems disproportionate. You're terrified without clear cause. These aren't random. They're decades of unfelt emotion finally being processed. It's not happening to you. It's happening through you. You're not creating the pain. You're finally allowing it. But emotional flooding, while excruciating, isn't the most painful part. The third reason is worse. You're experiencing radical aloneness. Not loneliness, aloneness. You're suddenly aware that you're a separate consciousness in a way you never felt before. And this existential solitude is unbearable. Before awakening, you had buffers against aloneness. Your relationships, your beliefs, your distractions. You felt connected to others, to meaning, to something larger. But awakening dissolves these buffers. You realize other people can't truly know you. You can't truly know them. Every consciousness is fundamentally alone, and this recognition creates a pain so profound it feels like being ripped from the womb of existence. One of Jung's most profound patients described this realization. "I was at a family dinner, surrounded by people I loved, and suddenly I felt completely alone. Not isolated, alone. I saw that I'm in my consciousness, and they're in theirs, and there's an unbridgeable gap. No amount of love or connection can cross it. I'm fundamentally, eternally alone." And I wanted to scream. The pain of that recognition was worse than any physical pain I've experienced. Jung called this the burden of individuation. You're becoming an individual in the most complete sense, separate, distinct, alone. Not lonely, which implies lack of connection. Alone, which is the fundamental condition of consciousness. And feeling this truth is devastating. You'll notice relationships that used to satisfy you don't anymore, not because they're bad, because you can feel the separation they used to hide. You're with someone and simultaneously aware you're each alone in your experience. This creates a grief that most people never allow themselves to feel. But existential aloneness isn't the final source of pain. The fourth reason might be the most shocking. If you're in agonizing pain, if you're losing your identity, drowning in emotion, feeling utterly alone, Jung would say this is exactly what's supposed to happen. The pain isn't wrong, it's necessary. And understanding why changes everything. Before we continue, check out our new guide, True Self-Discovery, with 24 practical reflection exercises designed to help you find your way within. Click below to get true self-discovery. Now, this final insight reveals why the pain is actually serving you. Awakening hurts because you're seeing through the illusion of meaning. Everything you thought mattered, your achievements, your relationships, your purpose, you're seeing as ultimately meaningless. And your mind, which was built to create meaning, is in crisis. Before awakening, meaning felt solid. Your career mattered. Your goals were important. Your struggles had purpose. But awakening reveals these meanings as constructions, not discovered, invented, not absolute, relative, not true, useful. And this recognition creates what Jung called the existential crisis. One of Jung's patients, a priest, went through this devastation. My whole life was built on the meaning of faith, service, God. Then I awakened and saw I'd created that meaning. It wasn't given by God. It was generated by my psyche. And suddenly nothing felt real. If meaning is invented, what's the point? Why do anything? The ground dissolved beneath me. Jung explained, "You're experiencing nihilism, the recognition that there's no inherent meaning, but you're stopping too soon. Beyond nihilism is something else, the freedom to create meaning consciously. You haven't lost meaning, you've lost unconscious meaning, and now you can choose meaning with awareness." But most people stop at the nihilistic recognition. They see meaninglessness and experience it as unbearable pain, because the mind needs meaning to function. Take it away, and the mind goes into panic, depression, despair. The pain of meaninglessness is your psyche's response to operating without the framework it requires. You'll notice nothing seems to matter. Achievements feel empty, relationships feel pointless, life feels absurd. This isn't depression in the clinical sense. It's the psychological response to seeing through constructed meaning before you've learned to create meaning consciously. You're in the gap, and the gap is excruciating. But there's one final reason the pain is so intense, and it ties everything together. Awakening hurts physically because your body is processing psychological transformation faster than your mind can comprehend it. The pain isn't just emotional, it's somatic. Your nervous system is literally rewiring, and you feel every moment of it. Jung understood that consciousness and body aren't separate. When your consciousness expands, your physical form must adapt. Your brain forms new neural pathways. Your nervous system calibrates to higher sensitivity. Your energy body reconfigures. All of this creates physical pain that has no medical cause. One of Jung's analyzans described this. "I had chest pain, headaches, full body aches, all with no medical explanation." Jung explained, "My body was reorganizing itself to hold expanded consciousness. The pain was cellular transformation. I wasn't sick, I was evolving, and evolution hurts." This is why awakening often includes mysterious physical symptoms, fatigue, pain, pressure, sensations that doctors can't explain. Your body is doing profound work that your conscious mind can't see or understand, and you experience that work as pain. Jung also noticed that the body processes trauma during awakening. Trauma stored in tissues, in the nervous system, in cellular memory, all surfacing to be released. Your body is purging what consciousness can no longer hold. This creates waves of physical pain, shaking, crying, not from new trauma, but from old trauma finally moving. You'll notice your body hurts in ways that make no medical sense. This isn't psychosomatic in the dismissive way. It's psychosomatic in the literal way. Your psyche is transforming your soma. The body is participating in awakening, and its participation involves pain. Why spiritual awakening feels so painful? You're losing your identity. The structure your psyche has operated from is dissolving. You're feeling decades of repressed emotion. Everything you've avoided is flooding through. You're experiencing radical aloneness, the fundamental separation of consciousness you've always denied. You're witnessing meaninglessness, the constructed nature of meaning before you've learned to create it consciously. Your body is processing transformation, physical reorganization, to accommodate expanded consciousness. Jung would want you to understand. This pain isn't a sign you're doing awakening wrong. It's proof you're doing it right. Awakening is the death of who you were and the birth of who you are. And both death and birth are painful. There's no way around it. Only through it. The pain has purpose. Identity dissolution creates space for authentic self. Emotional flooding releases what you've carried. Existential aloneness teaches self-reliance. Meaninglessness clears ground for conscious meaning. Physical pain signals cellular transformation. Every agony is doing something essential. But here's what Jung emphasized. The pain is temporary. It's transitional. You're not being tortured. You're being transformed. And on the other side of this pain is something you can't imagine from within it. A version of yourself that's whole, authentic, free. But you can't get there by avoiding the pain, only by allowing it. If you're in the middle of awakening pain right now, if you're losing yourself, drowning in emotion, terrified by meaninglessness, Jung would tell you, don't run, don't numb, don't try to go back. You can't. The only way is through. Let your identity dissolve. It was false anyway. The real you emerges from the dissolution. Let the emotions flood. They need to be felt. Decades of unfelt pain takes time to process. Let yourself be alone. The aloneness teaches you that you're complete in yourself. Let meaning collapse. You'll build something more authentic from the ruins. Let your body hurt. It's reorganizing for what you're becoming. The pain won't last forever. Jung observed that the most intense pain of awakening typically lasts months to a few years, not lifetimes. You're in the cocoon. You're dissolving. It's supposed to feel like death because psychologically it is. The caterpillar doesn't become a butterfly by adding wings. It becomes soup first. You're soup. And soup is painful. But on the other side of this dissolution is something worth every moment of agony. You. Not the constructed you, the real you. The one that's been buried under decades of conditioning, false identity, unfelt emotion, and unconscious meaning. That you is emerging, and the pain is its birth. Trust the process. Honor the pain. Let it do its work. You're not dying. You're being reborn. Subscribe to explore Jung's insights on navigating the dark night of awakening. To dive even deeper into Jung's revolutionary psychology and what it means for your spiritual awakening, click the recommended video on your screen now.